last week, central banks purchasing gold. They purchased 127 tons of gold in the first quarter. Mexico purchased 100 tons. We have charts in our newsletter about that. People were questioning, well, why did they do that? Mexico said gold purchases, they see them as the best risk-return investment around right now. Also, Passport Capital's John Burbank, a gold bull, was talking about the biggest reasons to stay invested in gold. He says it's because central banks around the world can see the writing on the wall long term, which is the dollar will be devalued one way or another, and that Congress in the United States has no appetite for hard decisions which would be deflationary in nature and therefore make the dollar higher than gold and not as much of a necessary holding. He says you also have the Chinese consumer, which has become a very large buyer, matched almost by the Indian consumer. And he says quite clearly he believes will exceed the Indian consumer. He says, I think ultimately physical gold is the story. It's a scarcity story, and people need to own some. He says the more the U.S. dithers and the more the Fed is willing to print money, as opposed to dealing with the inflationary situations properly, the more this trend will happen. That is the biggest reason to stay invested in gold. Deutsche Bank coming out this week saying $2,000 gold by the end of this year. Goldcorp's Ian Telfer saying $2,000 gold by the end of the year. UBS saying $1,600 by the end of this year. Also, we had Jeff Nichols. Jeff Nichols coming out saying 11 reasons to be bullish on gold that could drive it to $5,000, $1,700 this year, his prediction, $2,000 next, possibly $3,000 to $5,000 before the decade is out, before gold falls back. But he has 11 different reasons. Number one, the U.S. Fed policy of unprecedented levels of monetary creation, printing money coupled with zero or effectively negative interest rates. Also, difficulties in reaching the budget agreement, and the debt ceiling is a huge problem as well, eroding credit worthiness in the United States. Number three, the ongoing depreciation of the U.S. dollar, accelerating global inflation. Number five, fear of sovereign debt crisis continuing and defaults in Europe. Also, Middle East unrest. Number seven, growing influence in the developing world among nations such as China and India, whose citizens are buying precious metals. Also, a move by central banks to become buyers of physical precious metals. And ETFs have been a positive for metals as well. Number 10, the increasing acceptance of gold as an investment class. And number 11, limited growth in global mine production of gold and silver. That is from Jeff Nichols, 11 reasons to be bullish, and he thinks short-term 1,700, 2,000 next year, and possibly 3 to 5 before we see a pullback somewhere down the line. Harold, with about 30 seconds left, I think today's program was an important one, and I think we really put in context what is happening in the world today when it comes to precious metals.
You better believe it. And again, it was a very important show. I do also want everybody to know that I was speaking with Worldwide Precious Metals this week, and they have actually lowered their minimums, so you can now actually buy 500 ounces of silver through them as opposed to the larger numbers before. So again, I recommend this company. They're good people. They know their business. And again, you can now buy 500 ounces as opposed to much higher amounts, which will allow you to get in for whatever dollars you have. So again, it's very important that you get into the hard asset market, gold, silver, and diamonds. Wish everybody a wonderful weekend and a very profitable day.
Thank you, Harold. Don't forget, for those listening in Edmonton, we will be on next week at noon. Next week at noon. Protect your purchasing power. Anybody can run a printing press, and that's exactly what they're doing. We are being debased. Our paper assets are being debased. Protect yourself with hard assets, gold, silver, diamonds. To invest in precious metals, 1-866-623-2002, website www.pmc.com. On the diamond side of things, rarecoloreddiamonds.com or 1-800-432-1022. That's it, another edition of the World Financial Report on Radio with Harold Siegel and me, Randy Marshall. We will talk to you next week.